Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you in advance for joining. Very grateful that you are here. Today's topic is fairly deep, fairly epic. It's an interesting topic to say the very, very least. So I want to wait for some people to come on. There's a few people joining now, but the topic today is what do, Chiru, thank you for joining, very deeply appreciated. What do men need from women? Annette, thank you for joining. So people, as you're joining, as you're coming on, please feel free. Brooke, how are you? Please feel free to put a smiley face or put a love heart or put an emoticon with respect to how you're feeling right now and how you feel about this topic. Marie, thank you for joining as well. How you feel about this topic, because the next live video feed, by the way, is what men need to be and what they need to do for women. So this series, this is a two-part series, is really important with respect to making it a holistic understanding. Hey Vic, how are you? Long time no see. Hope you're really well. My regards to Peter. So just put an emoticon with respect to how you're feeling, people. This is really important because our feeling state, and I say this all the time, our feeling state will allow us to connect to the subject matter, to what we are experiencing right here and right now. Sam, how are you, brother? It's good to see you. So it's how you're feeling right now. Put a thumbs up, a little comment, perhaps even just begin to express your thoughts and your feelings about this particular subject matter. But there are more than 6 things that men need from women. There are far more than 6, and there are more things. In fact, I would argue that women need a lot more from men these days for various reasons than just six things or 6 items that a man needs to be in, the posture a man needs to maintain, which is deeply important as well. Nikhil, brother, thank you for joining. It is an honor to have you here, brother. Can you just put a little smiley face or a love heart or whatever you're feeling, express it in an emoticon. Catherine, Corey, please do the same in a little emoticon or emoticon or whatever, however it's pronounced. Just let me know how you're feeling, because how you're feeling in the comment section, leave it in the comment section, because how you're feeling is going to determine how open you are to receiving this information. And like I said earlier at the beginning of the feed, we are going to also, in the next live feed, we are going to speak deeply to what men need to give to women and how they need to show up in relationship but in life. So let me just clarify a few things here. So firstly, when we're speaking to what men need from women, thank you, Catherine, that's wonderful. So what men need from women is not just in intimate relationships. So I'm speaking to, there's 2 parts of this. There's males and females, so the anatomical version of a man and a woman. Tennille, thank you for joining, I really appreciate it. And just leave a smiley face or a love heart or a thumbs up in the comment section how you're feeling, okay? And really begin to immerse yourself in this subject matter, because this is going to be pertinent. It's going to be short, it's going to be pertinent, but it's going to allow us to understand ourselves better. So when we're speaking to this, we're speaking to men and women anatomically, but we're also speaking to the masculine and the feminine within ourselves. Carol, Gemma, thank you for joining. Let me know how you're feeling in the comment section. We're speaking to the masculine and the feminine expressive self. That's wonderful, Vanessa. Within self, okay? But also within others. So let's just clarify something. The masculine and the feminine are simply expressive states within every human being, within both men and women. Okay, so there's a prominent author in this field, in the interaction between men and women and the masculine and the feminine. David Dayton is a wonderful author. And he will say that most men in our Western construct, in our Western world, have about 80% masculine, 20% feminine, and females will have 80% feminine expression, 20% masculine, thereabouts, okay? What we really want to aim to do is bring that into balance and homeostasis and say that there's a 50-50 expressive state occurring, okay? This is beautifully important for us to understand, because it begins to allow us to experience the fullness of life. It begins to allow us to understand life from a very enriched and liberated place and space, because we're accessing information, we're accessing expressive states, and we're accessing potential, hi Carol, that we haven't before. So we're not polarized in our expression, we're not polarized in who we are, but rather we are expressing fullness of self, okay? So when we're speaking to what men need from women, we're also speaking to what the masculine needs from the feminine, within and also outside of ourselves as well. And we're not limiting this to intimate relationships, okay? We're going beyond that. But in intimate relationships, it's the most beautiful platform and arena to be able to grow, and the most beautiful platform and arena to flourish and really allow ourselves to express the fullness of who we are and coming from our hearts, yeah? So let me deep dive into this now. So the first thing that effectively men will need from their women is they need to be physically attracted to their women. Okay, and of course this works vice versa. We need to be physically attracted to our partners, but we also need to be physically attracted to the people in our lives. Now, let me clarify this. I'm not necessarily insinuating it needs to be in a sexual demeanor or in a sexual way that we need to be physically attracted to others, but we must accept, embrace, be moved and drawn to one's physicality, one's posturing, one's facial expressions, the way they physically express themselves in non-verbal cues. We have to be attracted to that. So for men, and I will focus a little bit more on the intimate side of things here, but please know that the transfer also feeds into all other relational dynamics. Yeah, really important. So if you're agreeing with this, people, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Write some comment or type some comments, and begin the conversation to understand how this can affect us. Marco, how are you, my friend? Thank you for joining. Let me know how you're feeling. Drop a comment in the comments box. So the first point is that men, hi Paul, how are you, need to be physically attracted to a woman. So how the woman presents herself, how she speaks, how she shows up in relationship, her body language, the way she moves, are her movement patterns feminine per se? So it's really about understanding that the masculine will be drawn to the feminine will be drawn to the masculine, and we'll go into this a little bit later. But that's the first point, so to speak. It's really, truly about that physical attraction. It's beyond just sexualized attraction. Let's get that very clear, yeah? Very, very clear. It's beyond just that. That's a part of it, or it can be a part of it, depending on the relational dynamic, but it can move beyond that. And in fact, it very often does. It's the way that we speak. It is our tone and pitch of our voice. Star, thank you for joining. Deeply appreciated. So the next one is, and this is really important. This is huge for, hi Rebecca, how are you? Let me know how you're feeling, people. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments section. Emoticons are good. They are to the point, they're visual, and they can express a great deal of who we are. Now the second point, this is pretty powerful. The man, or the masculine within both women and men, needs to be ready, needs to be in a place in their life, in his life, where he is wanting relationship, where he is wanting connection. He needs to be ready. He needs to be free enough. It's good to hear, Marco. It's good to hear from you, my friend. All very well, thank you. And I hope you are too. We need to catch up soon. So the man, or the masculine, needs to be in a space in his life where he's able to receive the gifts and the beauty and the wonder of the feminine. And if he is not, let me tell you, that relationship will break down profoundly. Now, I don't want to confuse people, because when I say the masculine and the feminine within, it takes a little bit of time to unpack that. But so if we just focus on intimate relationships, this is going to help dramatically. Okay, so in an intimate relationship, the man needs to be ready, or the masculine within the man and within the female. And again, I don't want to confuse things too much, so we'll just keep it men and women, just to keep it very simple. The man needs to be ready. He needs to be ready to receive the wonder of the feminine, the divine feminine, the gifts that the feminine has and the gifts that the feminine can give. Lee, thank you for joining. So what's really important is that the feminine or the female can identify with clarity that the man is I'm glad you're on then, brother. I'm really glad you're on. That the man is ready to receive the gifts and the wonder. The man is in a place within himself that he is ready and he's wanting a connected, intimate relationship. Now, the dynamic of that relationship and how it functions is very much dependent on those two individuals. So the rules or the boundaries or the perception of what is accepted and what is not is very much dependent on those two individuals. But as a foundation, if the man is not ready for relationship, if the man is stuck in fear, and there are so many fears that the masculine experiences, one of them is a loss of freedom or a perceived loss of freedom or a fear of commitment, a fear of being in a space where he has no flexibility, mobility, where he's feeling rigidity in his life. And if he can't move past that, and I've been in that place before so many times years ago, and fear has just overwhelmed me, and I have not been able to push past that point of I need to move past this because this fear is just consuming me and consuming my behaviors and my relationships, and it's allowing me, or I am allowing these fears to control my expression, and it doesn't allow us to be fully ready for relationship. It doesn't allow us to receive the fruits and the beauty and the wonder and the nurturing nature of the feminine. It doesn't allow us to receive the softness and the giving of the feminine. And men suffer deeply because of this. And as a byproduct, our women suffer. Our men suffer. We suffer incessantly because we cannot grasp the fact that we are not ready, that we need time to explore the chasms of our own being. We are not moving authentically in life. And I know this all too fucking well because I've been there. I've been incongruent. I've been inauthentic. I've been insincere in my understanding of self and in my understanding of relationship. So Vicky just says here, all relationships change, especially when children and the stress of life changes fundamental relationships. You have to be ready for that and for the fact that the feminine will change when a child comes. And Vicky, thank you so much for sharing that. That is so beautifully accurate because the hormonal changes, the brain chemistry alone, the changes in brain chemistry alone that occurs in a female's beautiful celebratory monthly cycle, that in and of itself changes the way women view the world as opposed to men. The hormonal secretion that takes place in the brain and through the body, and especially when women then have children. There's so much. I mean, that's another live feed altogether, and we'll speak to that at some stage, but not right now, of course. So, Gemma asks, "Are men fearful of financially independent women?" The question, it very much depends, Gemma, on the individual, on the man, on his conditioning, on his social conditioning, on his understanding of life, on his understanding of whether or not he's in connection or deep connection with his masculine, and his feminine, his own feminine, and whether he's threatened by the independence of a woman. Now, when you're talking about independence is, and financially independent in particular, because you're able to support through resources, you're able to support others and yourself through resources, a masculine trait, and women and men have that, of course, and it's very natural and it's very healthy to have that. So if a man is threatened by a woman's masculinity, or if a woman's masculinity is unhealthy, because we have unhealthy and healthy versions of both the masculine and the feminine, both dark and light within the masculine and the feminine, both unhealthy and healthy within dark and light of masculine and feminine. So the answer, unfortunately, Gemma, it really deeply depends on the individual. But to answer it generally, most men will be quite threatened by a financially independent woman or an independent woman because they are unable to connect to that because they have an unhealthy relationship with their own feminine. They have an unhealthy relationship with their own masculine. So it becomes that we move in extremes as opposed to moving in a balanced manner. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any more, please go ahead and ask. Let me know if that helped. And Vicky, let me know if that helped as well with respect to what I said. So the third thing that a woman needs, that a man needs from his woman is he needs a deep soul connection. Believe it or not, An in-touch man, a man that is soulful, a man that is connected, a man that is deeply understanding of himself, wants that soul connection that a woman has, that the feminine presents. A woman that is in touch with her soul. In other words, a woman that is in her deep feminine to complement his healthy masculine. So what does that look like? That looks like a woman that is nurturing. That looks like a woman that is understanding. That looks like a woman that is in connection with her feelings and is able to communicate and is able to understand intuitively, because intuition is a feminine trait, is to understand insightfully, because insightfulness is a feminine trait. Foresight is a masculine trait, but it's to understand insightfully her man. So Carol says, why am I afraid to break from the friend zone when you strongly feel mutual attraction? It's reciprocated. What's the problem? Carol, again, from a generalized perspective, the problem is that, and it's a blanket statement, so it's a very general answer, so to speak, is that men are afraid of commitment. They're afraid, and this is an evolutionary issue, this is a cultural issue, this is a social operant or conditioning issue. It's part of our socioeconomic doctrine, but men are scared of that commitment or losing themselves in relationship. So losing their autonomy and their freedom in relationship. Chiru says, what would make a man cheat on his marriage of several decades in spite of the woman committing and sacrificing everything for him and the family? That's a very deep question, Chiru, and to do that justice, we'd have to unpack that significantly. There's different schools of thoughts on that. One of them is that it's evolutionarily built in, not within men, but within actually men and women, to be polyamorous from a biological perspective. In other words, to have multiple partners. And there's reasons for this from a self-preservation perspective, very, very our complex, our reptilian brain. But there are also other reasons, and there is social conditioning, and again, it's linked intrinsically back to fear. What is the fear that men experience around who they are and around how they function and move through the world? So it's very important to understand that these fears often take men over without them even realizing. And as human beings, we're very good at justifying so much. And we're very good at justifying, and I've been in this place so many times myself, and it's deeply sad. It's destroyed me. It's destroyed my relationships. It's disconnected me from the wonder of experiencing life in so many different ways. And I feel very blessed that I have learned and grown and become through that. And that's why I can speak to this very openly now. But so many men suffer within and suffer in silence and in solitude, and as a byproduct, the women and children suffer as well, which is very sad. So I hope I've given you some context around that without unpacking too much, because I've got a bit to get through. But I hope that's helped. Let me know if it has, and please ask any more questions if you have them. So just to touch on that third point, the man needs a soul connection from his woman. It's very true that he needs, especially an enlightened, healthy, masculine man. And a man that is in touch with his feminine as well will need that from a woman. Will need a woman that is in touch with her emotional self to take charge, to lead that space. Yeah, really important. So the fourth point is, thank you, Sharu, thank you. The fourth point is that a man needs to be understood. He needs to feel like a man when he's with his woman. And I hope that makes sense. He needs to be understood that fears may come up. He needs to be understood that, or the woman needs to, as best as possible, understand the masculine self, understand how the man thinks, understand how a man moves through the world. Being understood for a man is everything. It draws us so much closer to our women. It allows us to connect with our own feminine as well. And Corey says, I've spoken with quite a few of my male friends and the difficulty they experience in their relationships, yet when we discuss a simple thing like a hug each morning and night, they often respond, why should I make the effort? It cuts off, Corey. I can't read the whole thing, but I'm assuming you say that. So, and that's the stubbornness and the direct attitude of a man. And when a man gets an idea in his head, he runs with it. Or when the masculine clings onto an idea, the masculine just runs with it and just remains with it. And we lose touch with the diversity of reality. But let me repeat that in a different way. When men become rigid in an idea, we fucking lose the opportunity to be open to another way of doing and being differently, more efficiently, more connected, and higher from a place of higher communication, more authentic, sincere communication. And that's deeply sad. Carol says, can you please do a live specifically on friend zone? Love to share your perspective on it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Carol, I'll put that in my notes, and in fact, Carol, in the comment section, elaborate on what you mean in detail with respect to that live feed, and I'll definitely do something in the next week or two. Okay, we'll run with this theme, because the next live feed is going to be on what men need to give women. Yeah, which I almost feel awkward just speaking to what men need from women. I feel there's no balance there, but the balance will come. It will just come in a few days, I promise. So a man needs to be understood, and when he's understood, he's able to give more to his woman. I promise you, when he'll feel safe. That's big, yeah. Because safety is a feminine, feeling of safety is a feminine quality. But remember what I said at the beginning. Men have, Francesca, how are you? Good to see you. Let me know how you're doing. Write a comment in the comments box. Men need to feel safe because men have feminine qualities and feminine expression within them. So that part of that man that needs to feel safe, Robbie, how are you, brother? Let me know how you're feeling. That feminine within each man needs to feel safe. So that understanding makes us feel safe because we're still dominant in our masculine, yeah? So safety is a key here. It's absolutely key. Hey friend, how are you? It's good. Okay, Carol, best friends, relationships, breaking into lovers. Cool, yeah, we can speak to that. That's an interesting feed. Yeah, we'll do that. I'll definitely do that. So the fifth out of 6, and there's so many more than 6, but we're just going to keep it to 6 today. Mary, how are you? Thank you for joining. Let me know how you're feeling. Needs to have space. Point number 5, the masculine within men and within women, but the men need to have the perception of freedom and space, but it needs to be in a very healthy way. Mary, I hope you're well. So it needs to be in a way. Hey, Corey, thank you for sharing the video. Appreciate it, brother. So it needs to be in a way that is mutual and collaborative between both people, both parties. Because if it's not, it will cause issues. It will cause tremendous deep pain for everybody involved. So men, what they need from women is wanting the woman to know when she needs to provide space for her man, for him to be reflective, for him to be in silence and stillness. It's very common for women to want to express and communicate and talk, and in multiple modalities. It's very common for the masculine within the men to be in silence and stillness and retreat and be in quiet time and almost zone out, and that's their meditative space. And it's about the beginning stages of this is understanding that. And again, this is linked very strongly to neuronal mapping, to hormone secretion from the brain. That's different in women and different in men, and it lends itself to why men communicate and behave in a particular way, and women communicate and behave in a particular way. Obviously, there's more than just hormone secretion or biological reasons or biophysical reasons, but that is a big contributor to that process, yeah? Communication is everything, but men and women generally will communicate a little bit differently if men are in their unhealthy masculine and they aren't in touch with their feminine. And likewise for women, if they're deeply in their feminine and it becomes an unhealthy expression of that, it becomes an extreme expression of that, and if they're not in touch with their masculine, they cannot communicate effectively together. So it's about understanding the way each person communicates as individuals, but also as women and men as well. It's very important, deeply important to understand that. So the last in this case, the 6th point here is a man needs to be supported deeply by his woman. He needs to be believed in and trusted. It can't be one of those guilty until proven innocent. It needs to be innocent until proven guilty. It requires a leap of faith from the woman to trust her man implicitly, to trust her man with depth and clarity, to be deeply, sincerely trusted by and supported by your woman as a man is the most liberating feeling. And I promise you, ladies, that if you are able to do that and your man is sincere and he's healthy in himself and he's moving towards balance and he's moving towards self, an authentic self, it will change so much of your dynamic. So Mary says, was with a narcissist for over 20 years. How can you communicate with a man like that? With great difficulty, Mary. That's a deep conversation for another time. Narcissism is, it's tough. It's really tough. Narcissism is a very selfish, self-absorbed trait. So communicating with someone in that fashion is very challenging. That's a deep conversation. I'd love to go into it because I love depth, but I'll be talking for hours, and I can't do that right now. But with great difficulty, my love, is to communicate with a narcissist, and really when that individual needs to be ready to shift and move from the place that they're in that is unhealthy. They need to recognize that and then empower themselves to actually make transformative change around that within themselves and for the betterment of others. But that becomes, again, difficult because that narcissism is very, very self-absorbed. Martin says, trust is surrendering to the unknown. Absolutely, Martin. Thank you for sharing that. I completely agree. It's surrendering to the mystery of the unknown, is moving into the abyss. So a woman has to do that. She must actually move into the abyss of the unknown and trust her man. But I promise you, if your man is healthy here and in his heart, and he's coming from his heart and he's coming from a place of deep love, I promise you that he will reward that trust and he will reward that support with so much clarity and depth and structure and solidarity. He will be there, a solid fixture for you to help you feel safe and to help you and allow you to express your emotional self with everything that you are. Alexandra, thank you so much. Deeply appreciate it. Philip, thank you for joining, brother. Let me know how you're feeling. Thank you, Mary. You understand. Brooke, so important. Exactly, that they want to change. They need to change if they want to. Yeah, correct, Mary. So people, that's gone over longer than I thought it would. I get wrapped up in this. I could speak for hours on this. I really can. I want to simplify it as much as possible, and I hope I've done that. Vicky said we ought to have a conversation at some time about what men and women need when you have a partner on the autism spectrum. It will really resonate with a lot of what that you are saying. Thank you, Vicky. Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to speak to that. And we're speaking to a different aspect of self there and a different expressive state and tapping into a different brain area as well and a behavioral area. But that would be very fascinating. Sandra, can healthy feminine energy bring unhealthy masculine into a healthy masculine? Absolutely. Most definitely. Like it's the complex. Okay, so I wish I'd written a sheet down, but basically, we have feminine and masculine, and then within both feminine and masculine, we have dark and light. So they're just expressive states or versions of self. And then we have unhealthy and healthy of dark and light masculine, unhealthy and healthy of unhealthy and healthy of dark and light feminine as well. Yeah. So a healthy feminine energy can bring, it's not so much that it's unhealthy, because if the feminine energy is healthy within an individual, chances are that there will be a healthy masculine there as well, for the majority of the time, but tapping into it could be deeply challenging. And again, it depends, it's very individualized. But we can have a healthy feminine and also an unhealthy masculine as well, because we've cultivated and developed this beautiful feminine radiant energy and vice versa for masculine. But we haven't developed the other side of our expressive state. Because the feminine and masculine are simply two sides of the same coin, yeah? So absolutely, and when they bring that unhealthy masculine, there's an imbalance that occurs. So it's about being very mindful of that. So people, I'm going to love you and leave you on that note. And I'm going to say thank you so much for your feedback, for your comments, for your interaction. Please share this message if you believe in it. Share this message with those that may resonate and benefit from this. And of course, check out the link below, because Chaos to Clarity, because I expand on this in that online program deeply, in the masculine and the feminine, substantially actually. So thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you. Thank you to everybody that's joined. Again, please share this if it resonates with you. Comment. Thanks, Annie. I love this topic. And next live feed will be on what men need to give women. Okay, what the things that men need to give women. It's going to be epic. Thank you, Gemma. Deeply appreciate it. People, have a beautiful evening, beautiful day, morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for just being in such deep gratitude that I'm surrounded by beautiful people that are so willing to explore these topics, these deeper topics, and explore the chasms of their own being. And it really deeply allows me to be a better version of myself as well. So I thank you for that. Thank you, Annette, Gemma. Thank you, Rebecca, for your kind words. Many blessings, people. I'll say goodbye now. And take this information and sit with it, be in silence with it, yeah? And allow it to permeate your being. Thank you so much, and take care.